the kind introduction oh, and I'm just getting my recording notification. Great. Rabbi Dina, thank you so much for the introduction. As you mentioned, my name is Lane Russell. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the U Experience. Really excited to be talking to you all about this today, but want to start off by just kind of introducing myself and my co-founder here, Chris, who's also in the call. We are trying to do something with the U Experience to make kind of your unique college experience, something that's exciting, whether you're doing it in person or online. So we want to talk a little bit about kind of what the landscape looks like. I know it's a very, kind of confusing time, especially going into college in kind of this post-COVID era. So we have a short presentation for you and looking forward to taking your questions afterwards.
And hey, everyone, I just wanted to introduce myself as well. My name is Chris Cook, co-founder and COO of the U Experience. Really excited that you're all taking the time to hear more about what we're doing and how we are trying to make the future of higher education a more accessible place. And really look forward to all of your questions. Hopefully we can have a really nice, productive and interactive Q&A session at the end. So please write down your questions as we go throughout. We'd really love to hear what's interesting to you and what's top of mind as we go through.
Perfect. And without further ado, I will share the presentation screen. Everyone can see that, yeah? Perfect. All right. So the U Experience provides campuses for online learners. We're going to start off by just talking about online learning itself. So bam. Yeah. So we'll start off by talking about the future of higher education, where things are going, what kind of unique, circumstances you're all entering into going to college around this time, what we see as the value of online learning and how it's going to be different than the traditional learning experience for college students, whether they're learning at traditional universities or online, the importance of campus life and what that provides to you. And then we'll close out by talking a little bit about our program and taking your questions. So to start, as mentioned, my name is Lane. I was a 2018 graduate from Princeton University. I spent my first year out of college trading at Goldman Sachs. I was an investment banker. I decided after about a year of that I wanted to move to do something a little bit more entrepreneurial. And I felt that education was a really great place to do that. We do here at the U Experience believe that education is obviously very important, and I think that everyone should. And what we see as education is always kind of a shifting landscape of things. Education isn't exactly what college is right now today. It's not exactly what high school is right now today. It's something that we're always working on and always trying to improve, because education is the thing that makes good, productive, happy members of society. And we would love for as many people as possible to be educated. So that means that our key criteria there are accessibility, affordability, and efficacy. So we want an education and an opportunity for it that everyone has access to, so that as many people can learn and be educated as possible. So it's affordable, so that you don't have to take on insurmountable amounts of student debt, and efficacious, so that you are actually gaining as much value as possible from that. So particularly in the very rapidly changing landscape of the modern era, education is even more important as things like automation tick up, as remote work becomes a more and more frequent occurrence. It's important to be not only well educated in your specific field, but to have generalizable skills that will help you in your life for the next many decades. Pardon me, I'm going to move this screen really quickly. There we go. So in the future of education, and particularly higher education and college, colleges are going to be faced with a number of kind of big challenges over the next 10 years. The first is managing costs. The second is expanding their student body. And the third is personalizing learning. So over the course of the last year, a lot of students were moved online, and only a couple of those pieces were met. So for universities, it's very important that they're able to manage costs, because without that, you see the rising prices of college that we're all kind of experiencing. So over the course of the last several decades, the price of college has continued to increase, and colleges need to find more and more creative ways of keeping that price low, so that college is still accessible to students without necessarily having to take on large amounts of debt. They're also under a lot of pressure to expand the student body. You've probably seen plenty about college admissions. It's probably top of mind. You're probably thinking about your GPA and your SATs. Colleges need to find ways to be less selective so that more students can get educated. And last, they need to find a way amid keeping costs low to make college personalized and accessible to the individual person. The most important piece of your education is going to be, in a big way, the relationships that you make with professors and with the faculty at your college. And we have to make sure that the future of online learning doesn't lose that. Here. So in terms of accessibility, right now, the average American salary is $31,000 and the average tuition for an in-person private college is $46,000. This gap is typically made up with student debt, which is a difficult thing to take on as an 18-year-old when you don't know exactly what you want to pursue for the rest of your life, and when the college debt or student loan debt is the only kind of debt that you can't actually get rid of in a bankruptcy. It is with you for life and is a very serious decision to make. And so we're hoping that as colleges move online, having already built all of the online learning infrastructure, they'll be able to continue to kind of reduce costs over the next several years. So just a matter of definitions for you. When we speak about online learning versus remote learning, remote learning would be kind of like what we're doing here and kind of like what you've probably been doing for high school or college, or what current college students are doing. That would mean that the classes and the lectures are synchronous, so they're on a schedule. This is not a pre-recorded lecture yet for you guys. This is happening in real time. So you needed to make it here on time. Whereas for online learning, it would be the equivalent of the recording of this lecture afterwards, where you could go back, you could watch it at your own pace, you could pause, rewind, do anything you like. And so most of Zoom courses over the course of 2020 and the beginning of 2021 have been remote learning, where very little has actually changed about the way that the classes are offered, except that they're done through Zoom instead of in class. And there's still benefits to this, like not having to commute, being able to, make class from your bedroom or your office or something like that. But they're still instructor led. And this is typically the kind of thing that is offered by an in-person high school or an in-person college, whereas online learning has a couple of added benefits. So as already mentioned, you can rewind, you can pause, you can get up and go to the bathroom, you can watch it at 2 times speed. There are many great advantages to online learning. And over the next few years, colleges are working on implementing those kinds of pieces for their curriculum. So actually, when I was a student at Princeton, I believe in 2016, they started offering their intro computer science course, which is typically a 300-person lecture, online for the first time, which students loved. It meant that you no longer had to go wake up, get dressed, be presentable to your peers and run to class. You could just watch it on demand anytime you liked. That also frees up a lot of time for, mentorship and peer-to-peer collaboration. So whereas the typical relationship between a student and an instructor is that the instructor presents the lecture to you in real time, and then you go off on your own and do the homework, online learning has the potential to kind of flip that on its head, where you could watch a pre-recorded lecture on your own schedule whenever you like. And the synchronous portion, the scheduled portion of the class, could actually be with a professor or with a TA answering the questions you need to make it through a homework assignment. These types of courses are typically offered by edtechs, but we believe they'll be increasingly offered by typical or traditional universities over the next few years. So we've gone through the pros, which are very exciting. You can have incredibly new, up-to-date content. You could learn something that doesn't need a textbook to accompany it. We think that as colleges and edtechs produce more and more online courseware, you'll have more and more up-to-date classes and lessons. Whereas a good example, I think, is in computer science. A lot of people are learning programming languages that are really not in any professional use at any modern startup or corporation. Whereas with an online lecture that you're producing for the class of 2021 specifically, and leaving from there on, you could be learning about something like Python or R, or something that you might actually be using in the course. The same is true for history courses, for politics courses. You can get increasingly up to date because you can record the lectures that keep track of everything before this year, for example. So if I'm a professor, instead of having to actually show up every single year and teach the same thing, I can record it, my past self can teach it to you, and I can start focusing on how to improve that lecture. The other advantage that's equally important is that you can learn at your own speed. So right now, for most courses, everyone is learning in class at the same speed, And it would be really weird for you to raise your hand and ask the professor to stop so you can run to the restroom, or because you need to go back over another piece of content. In online learning, you can just rewind, and it's as simple as that. But there are some drawbacks. And those drawbacks are what we as a company are trying to address. So the first one is that in online learning, it can be difficult to actually collaborate with other peers. If you're not having, little campus run-ins, you're not seeing people in the library, you're not seeing people in the cafeteria, it can be difficult to build the kind of personal connections that you want to take away from college. And that brings us to campus life, which, regardless of, what we call it, being at a college campus is a really important and formative time for young students. It's where you become an adult. It's where you learn to interact with other adults. And we don't think that if the future moves online, students should lose this. So pieces of campus life might include things like social education. So when you go into the workplace, a big determinant of your success isn't just going to be your ability to produce a pitch deck or to sell a product or to write a piece of code. It's also going to be a function of how well you communicate with your coworkers and with your bosses and with your clients. And all of that kind of comes from living on your own and meeting people from different backgrounds. When you join a company selling some kind of product and you're calling people up to tell them about it, you won't really know what kind of background they have. You won't know where they're from, if they're from the same city as you or even the same country as you. And it's important to start meeting people from all walks of life. Second is networking. So I have a bit of a unique situation where my two co-founders at this company are actually former college teammates of mine on the track and field team. And through that track and field team, I've also met a number of great advisors. And through the school as a whole, I met a lot of people who I stay in touch with to this day. So networking on a college campus, it's a bit of a dirty word, but it's a really important piece of living in college. You're going to meet hundreds and hundreds of people when you go off to college. And as you make deep and meaningful friendships with them, you will take that into your professional life. The next piece is career readiness. So that would include the actual educational piece of what you're doing. So if I'm a business major, maybe I'm learning about business. If I want to be an archaeologist, I'm learning about archaeology or whatever there might lie in between. And that's a very important piece, but it's also important to actually do things like internships and to see what it's like actually being in a workplace. And for most people, college is the first time you do that. And last but not least, and a little bit overlapping with the networking piece, is friendship. Your career and your ability to, work in society and be a functioning member is incredibly important. But some of the most meaningful parts of your life won't be on the resume. They will be the friends that you make. It will be the experiences you have. It will be the memories that you're thinking about and talking about for the rest of your life. And while that might not be critically important to you getting a job, it is an important part of the rest of your life. So employers generally do also agree with this. They believe that soft skills like communication and leadership, the kinds of things you get from maybe a campus club or a campus sporting event, are really, really valuable. And a lot of students also believe that that's a big part of their decision-making process when going to university. So this brings us to the U Experience, which is the business we founded last year to help make sure that online students can take advantage of online learning without missing out on all of those valuable in-person elements of the college experience. So we basically convert hotels into college campuses for students who are either learning entirely online, taking a gap or bridge year, or learning at a traditional university and just want to kind of mix things up and study somewhere else with a new group of people. So specifically, we call what we're doing unbundling the college experience. So typically, when you go to college, you're not just buying college, you're buying three things. And that's the education, the experience, and the credential, where the education is the actual learned skills and knowledge that you acquire through your courses, through your extracurriculars. The credential is the piece that proves that you have that, and the experience is the more subjective piece that you take home. That's where you meet your friends, and that's what we see as what could be missing in online learning. So when colleges move online and ed techs move to compete with them, there's a really great opportunity for people to start evaluating the education, the credential, and the experience separately. Because when they're all under one price, it bids up the price of college. And the reason that matters to you is because if someone is willing to pay anything for a Harvard degree, and you would give as much as you could to get a Harvard education, the person who's paying for the degree is the person who's pushing up the price. And so when people can kind of evaluate the education and the credential separately from the actual experience, there's more opportunity for different, more, I guess, alternative forms of college to compete directly with traditional universities. If an ed tech that's exclusively online and offers their courses for $1,000 a year can offer the same quality of professors and the same quality of instruction as Harvard, then it's going to be really, really hard for Harvard to argue that you should be paying them $70,000 a year for that same thing. And so what we want to do is democratize access to higher education by allowing new competitors in the field to compete with universities. And we believe that we can do that by giving those ed techs a way to continue providing the college experience. So what does that entail? Well, the U experience is all about giving people all of the fun that they would expect to have on a college campus across a variety of different avenues. So the first one would be actual peer-to-peer connection. One of the most important pieces of college, of course, is actually meeting people. And if you're looking at that theoretical Harvard course that's taught online and gives you a Harvard degree, but isn't done in person, it's still going to be kind of a tough choice sometimes. And so we want to give people the opportunity to choose who they're with, to meet new people. If maybe you want to spend a semester not on campus at your traditional university, and you'd rather spend it somewhere like Miami or San Diego or Austin, Texas, then we want to give students the ability to do so. So the first piece would be choosing who you live with. That's the community you're a part of. The second piece is the actual location. So if I'm choosing a certain university, I'm not just picking the education and the faculty and the people, I'm also picking a location. And short of studying abroad, I'm bound to that location for all 4 years. One difficult piece of studying abroad is that you have to actually clear it academically, and you aren't always getting the same academic experience. So if I really, really wanted to learn in, Argentina, but I really, really wanted to maintain the same professors, online learning is kind of the only way I can do that. But if the university doesn't offer that campus, then how do I know I'm going to actually find other students? That's kind of where we come in. Our job is to actually connect students from all across the country, all across the world, from various universities, so that we can help them create a special campus experience where they know other college students are going to be there. So whether you're just a junior in college and you're getting a little tired of all the same faces and all the same places, then maybe you come to the experience. Or you're not sure what you want to do or what you want to study, but a gap year living at home doesn't feel like it's going to be the kind of growth opportunity you'd want. Well, then we also want to give you a place. So in terms of actual programming, we're going to be offering students a collection of student groups. So you can find a niche where maybe you share a hobby with students. We'll be offering recreational sports, so you can continue getting, a little bit of exercise while meeting other people and engaging in some form of camaraderie. We'll be having a speaker series so that distinguished guests can come and give you lectures in a variety of fields that you might not be able to take courses in. One of the most interesting ones, as a bit of an aside to me, we had a marine biologist reach out who wanted to, teach a lecture. And, I was thinking about how wonderful that would be if, while studying economics, I could take 1 hour out of my day sometime and learn about something in a completely different field. And if I could have done that my freshman year or even during a bridge year, how much of a difference that might have had on my decision to pursue a given major or degree program. And last but not least, entertainment. We want to give students chances to kind of organically meet their peers. So that would be things like study halls, things like study breaks, catered events, and weekend parties, concerts, poolside events, all of the things that you'd love to have at a college, and that we can offer you. So in terms of the actual details, we offer month-to-month commitments for rooming. So we price our program to be comparable to rent in whatever city we're offering it in. So that students can take the money that they've budgeted or received in financial aid for room and board and can devote it to something like this. And we give those students a chance to kind of see and network online with the other students who'll be a part of the program before they get there, so that they can kind of see what program and where they'd like to be a part of before deciding they want to commit. And that, I believe, is going to close this out. And the last piece before moving to questions is, what we're looking for and who should apply. And, over the course of the next several years, the field and the landscape of higher education is going to change a lot. Things are going to start looking very different as students are given more and more opportunities to take advantage of online learning. And the companies that kind of come into that space and innovate in educational technology and start providing great lectures and great opportunities for students are going to have a really great time, and they're going to provide a lot of value to students. But the people who take advantage of that and gain the most from those new and alternative programs are going to be the self-starters. They're going to be people who are creative individuals who are willing to kind of go off and do something different and do something exciting. And the people who, kind of take that opportunity over the next 4 years, or maybe if you're not in college yet, the next 5 years, you're really going to have a lot of opportunities to do things differently than the millennial generation did, or the generation before then. And the students who really are going to excel in the rapidly changing professional landscape of the 2020s and beyond are going to be those students who find creative ways to gain their education, build their network, and meet friends over the course of the next 4 years. And that is it. We will open up to questions.
You have questions for Elaine or for Chris and you don't want to verbally ask them, you can also feel free to share them in the chat.
They also don't even have to be good questions. If there's even a topic you want to cover, we're happy to run through it.
Can you talk a little bit, Lane, about what some of the students at the U Experience are studying, where they're studying? I imagine it's pretty vast, but yeah.
Yeah, our students break down from kind of 3 broad categories. So the first one would just be students who are learning entirely through some kind of edtech, a fully online provider. So that could be something like a coding boot camp, or it could be something like an outlier.org that offers entire college credit courses online at much cheaper prices. And so that would be kind of group 1. Group 2 breaks down into students who are at traditional universities and we just kind of like to get a change of scenery. So they have a remote option, which means that they could stay in person, live on campus, and receive their lectures in person, or they could take them wherever they please. And that's really kind of the bread and butter of the U Experience. We want to give something that doesn't force you to pursue an extremely radical educational pathway. You can continue getting a degree at a normal university, but you can kind of change up what the actual social atmosphere is like. And, maybe you're a little discontented after the end of freshman year and you want to make something up. That's kind of what we really want to provide this for. And the last piece is very similar, but it's for students who are taking a gap year or a bridge year, who basically either before going into college want to take a little bit of time, figure out their lives, figure out what they want to do, and need a place to do it. And we think that this is a really cool opportunity for students at the U Experience, because if kind of the best place to do that would be to be surrounded by current college students. So if I'm a 19-year-old and I'm not sure what I want to do for my freshman year, and I can live around a bunch of other 19, 20, 21, and 22-year-olds who are currently experiencing college and currently learning, and can talk about what it's actually like on the ground to be, getting your lectures online. Maybe you're curious about, what major you want to do, then that's a really cool opportunity to meet someone who's studying econ or history and ask them, did you like this? Is it everything that you wanted it to be? Have you changed your major before? What does that kind of look like? And we think that's a really cool opportunity for bridge and gap year students. So it's kind of the broadest 3 categories.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Thanks. Other questions?
If you don't have any questions, I might have some more direct questions for some of our audience members if they want to entertain. So real quick, I see we have a lot of participants here. How many of you actively use the internet to supplement your learning? Things like Khan Academy, YouTube, Wikipedia. How often are you incorporating these things into actually learning? Hand up. I'm pretty sure Zoom even lets you raise a hand sometimes. But I'd bet a lot of you. Now, Sophia, not to pick on you, but given that you raised your hand and you're adding these things into your courseware, do you feel that your curriculum is helping you with the skills needed to better use the internet for these for assignments or your curiosity? How is your school specifically kind of approach the internet? Let's say something like
Um,
Wikipedia.
I think that this year, just because we're online, it's encouraged more to use more resources. Because before, when we were in person, we could just go to teachers, or my school has something called the ARC, where like the teachers, if your teacher isn't off during your free subject, you could go to a different one. And so we could use that, but since that's not really available through Zoom, any like online resources encouraged if you have like the opportunity to use.
Awesome, awesome, and that's something that I definitely want all of you to take away from this, is certainly that the things that we're talking about, taking advantage of an online curriculum, is not unique to a student on one of our campuses. These are things that are actively being incorporated more and more into higher education as it continues to develop. So things like using the internet to solve problems, using the internet to collaborate with peers who often aren't all in the same place. These are trends that we very much adopt on our campuses and try to foster amongst students who are learning online, and possibly learning amongst peers who aren't necessarily on the campus. But these are all things that you all can absolutely take advantage of. And so when we're talking about where higher education is going and the future of college, in your time in college, for all of you on the call who are hopefully going off to college pretty soon, perhaps taking some time if needed, you're going to see these changes be embraced a lot more. I know when I was in college, for example, but my freshman year, I had a professor say, you absolutely cannot use Wikipedia for a paper. And then by my senior year, I had a professor saying, of course you can use Wikipedia, it's very reliable. And so these changes can really happen in your actual time span of being on campus and interacting. So you're really going to see a proliferation of online resources and online kind of hybrid models for education being used, especially in high school. Things like snow days are going to completely disappear. Now that schools can go online for a day, they will, but you're also going to see it happen more so in college. And so when Lane was talking a bit about why the U experience exists and what we're trying to solve, which is ultimately making education more accessible and more affordable for everyone, these are the types of things that while you are on campus, you can actually involve yourselves in, and definitely keep an open eye towards where the university is heading. The university is a great place for the expression of ideas, and also for many of you and for many young people to kind of find what they care about in life, what social causes they care about, what they're actually interested in, who you're building up all of these things about who you are and what you actually care about. Education, we think personally, is one of the most important issues that anyone can be involved with and be passionate about. So as you're on campus, you're going to both see the university starting to offer online degrees. And that'll be something that you as classmates are now the first generation to deal with. You will be in person and you'll have peers who are online, and kind of what that relationship looks like, and also how you can get involved and have a stance on it to ultimately contribute to education being more accessible. So this is something that we have, this is our chosen mission, to focus on online learning, making it fun, and really making a great experience and environment for online learners to have a really great college experience, which we think is something that everyone should have the right to have. But you guys will be seeing it yourselves. So enjoy it while you're there. And if this is something that speaks to you, and you find that education and making it accessible is something that you're passionate about, there are ways for you to be involved, because it's going to be happening around you.
Awesome. Lane and Chris, we can't thank you enough. We're so excited about this time in a student's life. And thank you for just reminding us that there are a plethora of options out there, and that if a traditional campus doesn't feel right, that there are other places to have those really important and foundational experiences, and to put ourselves on the path to becoming the person that we really want to be, and to get the learning and education that we desire in a whole bunch of different places. We will follow up with everyone. We'll make sure that you get Lane and Chris's contact information if you want to follow up with them to learn more specifically about the U experience. Just thank you guys so much for the work that you're doing, for providing another place for students to learn and connect to one another, and most importantly for outlining those 4 really important pillars of the search when folks are thinking about what's next for them academically. That was just, I'll remind everyone, social education, networking, career readiness, and friendship. I think that that's a really nice way to begin our road trip, and to remind ourselves that we're after more than just a piece of paper on our wall. This is really about finding a place that we can thrive, be comfortable, learn, and get on a path to success. Thank you, everyone. We hope you'll check out more of the Virtual College Road Trip as we move ahead this month, and we will follow up with everyone to put you on the road on the next stop.
Great. Thank you, Rabbi Dina, and thank you everyone for stopping by.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.